Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nupehadda. I'm doing a remake of a video I did this morning. Some people have told me that the video that I posted had an echo in it. I'm hoping this will be fixed with this video. So this is mostly the discussion of mostly like a prediction of what's going to happen in the TCG July 1st, 2015 Forbbiden Limited list. My personal thoughts is Necros is going to be the first topic in this. Necros themselves, the monster lineups don't need to be changed. It's mostly just their spell cards and possibly their ritual supports like Manju and Senjun going to one. Certain ritual spells going to one, like Mirror and stuff like that. There's no real way of getting around that because you have the monster lineup itself. If you keep hitting that and everything like that, eventually the deck is not going to have Necros anymore, and that's not what we want. We want the deck to still be alive, but to not be overwhelming on the format. So I think for the most part, the spell cards and the supports need to be limited in some way, shape, or form. As to how Konami does this, I do not know, but we will see around close to July 1st. The next is the Burning Abyss. And as I said in my previous video, which I've already deleted, so I have to be neutral about this because I am a Burning Abyss player by competition-wise, but casual play, it can be anything. So Burning Abyss itself, Fire Lake going to one, it can happen, though it would not be the smartest choice because Fire Lake itself, even though it gives pluses and everything like that, it is not the biggest card in their arsenal. Surely it's one of their most top cards because you have back row hate and everything with that card, and it's searchable by Dante. But realistically speaking, Dante, Sir, or Griff of the Burning Abyss are good choices. Though depending on how much they hit them, depending on how weak the deck becomes. We don't want to hit them all because if you do that, the deck just dies. Like it can't support itself anymore. So my biggest prediction is Dante going to one and leaving the main deck alone. Dante itself is an enabler because he allows you to search for whatever you need in the graveyard when he dies, and having him going to one would be devastating enough to where it would slow down the deck, but it won't kill it. So that being said, Tour Guy going to one or Tour Guy going to three is not necessary. Unfortunately, there's way too much support for Tour Guy now for it to be abusive. You have Burning Abyss, you have the Djinns. Of course, you only have the Djinn Releaser, which I still believe should not be hit at all because the Djinn is not doing anything in terms for the Necros. Necros themselves are what's causing it for their flexibility, and the Djinn is just an add-on. He's one of the few supports I think doesn't need to be hit at all. Shaddolls, they do need to be addressed, but I don't think it's going to be as excessive as the OCG did. I can see Construct on the one. I would like to see El Shaddol Fusion going to one as well. Shaddol Fusion can stay at 3 because it's not quick play. El Shaddol Fusion is more annoying. That's really much I can say about the main deck wise. Monster lineup and stuff like that. It doesn't really hurt. I wouldn't mind seeing Shadow Games going to one, but I just don't see that being possible because Lentians or Mermails, I don't remember which. They have that one Abyss Spear, and it's not been hit as well, so there's no reason for it. Then you got Cool Forts. Cool Forts themselves, the only thing that's going on right now is the lose one turn, and I don't see that being hit at all because lose one turn has came out around a time where the ban list has probably already been made, you know, for Konami, but they have not published it yet because they're still doing editing. But I don't think there's enough testing in the TCG for them to say, you know what, let's just, hit it and everything, because we've had products like this before. Vanity's Emptiness is a good example of this because Vanity's Emptiness could have been hit a long time ago, but because certain card like Duelist Alliance came out, Duelist Advent for the OCG, when it came out, Vanity's Emptiness didn't get really tested until like maybe a couple of weeks later, and by that time it was close to the ban list anyway, and there wasn't enough information for Upper Deck, or not Upper Deck, but Konami to make a decision on that, so they didn't ban or limited vending symptoms at that time. So, quote, besides the trap, there's nothing really you can do to Quillforts that will be, hurtful for them, because they've already been hit with the last ban, or the last list, I should say. Ban list is not the correct term, because nothing's been banned for them. Limited, however, you got Scouted to now. You have Sacrifice. I want to say that's correctly pronounced, but if not, I do apologize. But it's going to one. A lot of their back row went to one. Skill Drain, Vanity's Emptiness, pretty much Floodgates got hit hard for them. So at one point, everyone thought Coolforts died, and people, as soon as that sneak peek for the last ban list in April was shown, a lot of people just dropped the deck. I mean, it dropped in price and everything like that. But now they're coming back because of lose one turn. I just don't think it's enough. But and then again, I think lose one turn does need to be dealt with in the next list after this. And as of right now, I just don't see it being hit. If it does, I'll be really surprised about that. Next, Royal Magical Library needs to be banned. There's not much I can say about that. Chicken Race is going to be coming out, not this coming set, but the next set, I believe. But Chicken Race is not the problem. Magical Explosion is not the problem. Life Equalizer is not the problem, because they've been dealt with and everything. You need to get rid of Royal Magical Library. The Royal Magical Library states that every time a spell card is activated, it gains a counter up to 3, and for each, you can send all 3 of those counters to draw 1 card. With Pentiums being treated as spell cards when they were activated into the Pentium zone, it actually adds a counter to him. He might have 2,000 defense and 0 attack, but he's a first turn kill or 1 turn kill scenario. So FTK or OTK. So you really don't want him in there, because you run 3 of him and you run nothing but spells and like 2 traps. I just don't remember how many you run of each of the traps. I think actually both of them are at 1. So yeah, you run 2 traps. Like I said, Magical Explosion and Life Equalizer. Magical Explosion, for every spell in your graveyard, it does 200 points of damage to your opponent. And Life Equalizer, if your life points are at 700 life point difference between your opponent and yourself, both players' life points become 3,000, if I recall. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments below. Also, Chicken Race itself, what it does is, for the person who does not have, the person who has fewer life points than the opponent, will take no damage while it's on the field, and you can pay 1,000 life points to either draw a card, destroy this card, or I think there was another effect. I just don't remember what it was. But essentially, its activation cannot be negated. Well, it cannot be responded to. I'm sorry. It can be negated by activating some, or not some, but activating Mystical Space Typhoon or something like that. But it cannot be responded to when you're activating those card effects. And it's a field card, so that means you have Terraform that can easily search it out. And that also adds another counter to Royal Magic Library. But the argument is this: Royal Magic Library is the enabler. Everything else is secondary. It's like, it all depends on what your preference is. It depends on how you want to do the OTK. But Royal Magical Library is mandatory in the deck, and that's one of the few reasons why it needs to be hit. Because Chicken Race and everything, it's more balanced without them than it is with. Because once you have a Royal Magical Library on the field, game over. Unless you have the Effect Veiler, or Phoenix Chain, or Breakthrough Skill. If you don't have those cards in your arsenal, on your deck and everything, you are pretty much screwed. Because this is, if they get it off with Royal Magical Library, it just draw. And also Ignitic Knights will also abuse this, because they just activate Pentium monsters, blow themselves up to draw 1 card, to add 1 card from their deck to their hand, continue the process, and then flood field and attack for game. So yeah, Royal Magical Library needs to be hit. Satellite Knights, their extra deck needs to be hit. Like particular cards. I won't mention what cards they are because one, I can't pronounce their names, but they're recent cards. I think Diamond is one of them that needs to be put to one or something. But also their original monster, the one that bounces all cards to the field back to the hand, and everything, it needs to be hit hard. And also the new guy, I believe, needs to be hit because he can do a loop. And normally I wouldn't care about this, but they also have a trap card that needs to be hit as well. The one which is Alpha, it's the Tail Knight Alpha, or Tail Knight Alpha, I believe it's called. I'll have to relook, but pretty much it's a counter trap. You send one Satel Knight monster from your field and draw one card, and by doing that you also negate the activation of the card that's being activated and destroyed. I don't remember if there was a particular. I think it could be anything. Like it could be monsters, magic, and traps. So it needs to be hit as well because Satel Knights monster wise are fine. It's just the extra deck and their trap lineup needs to be hit hard because otherwise if they hit anything Necro, Burning Abyss, or Shadal wise, even Cool Forts, Satel Knights are going to be a pain to deal with. And we already seen what they're capable of. Next, there's also been new information for the Asian and Philippine Yu-Gi-Oh players starting on July 1st. And this is information. I'll have I'll have the link below for y'all to look at it. For the Philippines and the Asian community for Yu-Gi-Oh and everything, once the new ban list comes out, anything from Duelist Alliance / Duelist Advent and forward is the only card you'll be able to use unless reprints were made, during or after Duelist Alliance and Duelist Advent. Anything prior to that, you can't use anymore. Like I said, unless it was reprinted. And I feel Konami is not being fair to them because the OCG for like Japan and everything like that, they don't have this restriction. TCG doesn't have a restriction, and I'm pretty sure the fan, or not the fan, well, I guess fan base and the player base would not be happy about this. But it seems like Asian and the Philippine players are being picked on by Konami about this, or discriminated, or hatred, depending on how you want to look at it. I'm trying to be the neutral ground about this because I'm a casual player for the most part. The only competitive deck I have right now is BA, so. But under that front, I feel Konami needs to rethink what they're doing when it comes to the Asian and the Philippines community and everything like that because they are not treating them right. Because I remember a while back that hidden Arsenal stuff, for the most part, will take a long time before they could actually use it. At least 2 to 3 years, if I recall, after it's been out. Only because they either need to be reprinted or because they need mass production. And I don't even think they're getting mass production products. This was actually brought to me by W / about the information about what I'm telling you in terms of the July 1st at what's going to happen. And as I said, the link below that he posted on Pojo, and I appreciate for that information. At first I didn't think that it was going to happen because he stated it was rumors originally, and then he provided a link and I looked into it, and I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I understand if this was massively done, but even a massively done reboot of the franchise would be bad because you don't do this. You don't do this to the players who spent years collecting these cards and everything like that and be like, everything from Duelist Alliance, Duelist Advent is worthless now. Let's reprint it. So they do have links in there of what products can be used besides main sets like starter decks and everything like that. But it's short. It's a short list right now because we don't have enough products from Duelist Alliance and onward because we're still at Clash Rebellion is the next set. So like we have plenty of stuff came out and everything like that, but it's like 4 or 5 books if I recall. But that's pretty much my view on the Forbbiden and limited list, and also my viewpoints on the Asian and Philippine duelist community and everything. I hope they have a way to challenge this because it's just not right for them. I'd rather have a TCG and OCG in the Asian and the Philippine group being the OCG at least, because that means they get more products. like they get more products faster and everything like that. But I don't even. They're from what I've been understanding. I mentioned this in the last video. I didn't know if they were actually part of any format, but they're actually part of the OCG. But it's kind of like a third class type deal, and we should be in a society now where that shouldn't matter. Like there should be no differences besides the region that you're in terms of like OCG and TCG. It's like everything should be flat out. We're in an age now that where worldwide stuff can easily be made, and like it just seems unfair for them. Like some people are going to argue with me on that, but really, I'm more about variety of players and everything, being able to have access to what they need and being able to say, I can play this, this, and this, and go to worlds and be able to do things. But they can't do that because they are restricted to a lot of items. I don't even think hidden arsenal is allowed for them anymore, and they finally got a chance to get hidden arsenal stuff like Notori B, Spark and everything like that. And also, like this is mostly something I want to see, but Six Samurais need a lot more support. I'm sure there's other decks that need a lot of support, but Six Samurais, we do not have any recovery. Of course, a lot of decks don't have this as well, but Gateway to 6 needs to come back to 1, or else the deck will never flourish again. There's no way for the deck to flourish right now because we just don't have a way to recover anything. And with Mystical Space F3, you have Night Beams that can hit, back row and everything like that. You got Galaxy Cyclone that can hit it, and it can hit whatever you want, from the graveyard and stuff. There's just no point in having the card not being limited to 1 again. So, I thank y'all for watching. Please leave a comment below. Have a nice evening.